The familiar, catchy theme song, which means you have stumbled right into the steam room. A podcast which gained 83 billion more subscribers last week. Is that amazing, Chuck?
Hey, I want to thank everybody for subscribing, making us the #1 podcast in the entire world. I mean, the entire world. Not just the United States, the whole world.
Yeah, lots of loyal steamers all over the universe. Thank you, folks, for being here. Tractor Supply Company is our sponsor. We appreciate them. And we start every podcast, and this is episode number 28, with Chuck's favorite phrase, which is, first of all.
Ernie, I'm going to be all over the place today. I'm not going to lie. I just want to say, I'm going to talk about me and you individually and the show winning an Emmy. And I just want to take the time to thank every single person who works on the show. You know, obviously, Ernie is the lead dog to make our show go. I'm blessed to work with Ernie, Kenny, and Shaq, but there's so many people behind the scenes. I mean, everybody know TK, Fiorello, Jeremy, Underdog, Anthony, Audio Rob. I mean, everybody.
Alex.
I just want to acknowledge you guys and just say thank you. Oh. I just want to say thank you.
Well, you know, and it goes both ways, Chuck. We do the same. We say the same thing, man. I mean, that. This doesn't work if anybody makes the show about themselves, and nobody's ever done that. And I think that's, you know, we make the show about everybody who's involved in it, and everybody feels like they're playing a role. And so when we win an Emmy for the best studio show in one of those categories, everybody wears that badge proudly.
Yeah, and I don't want to forget my, my two road dogs are Underdog, and I don't want to forget Alex. But I just want to acknowledge, man. I just want to thank everybody for their really amazing hard work. And I'm not gonna lie, this was actually the first time that I really wanted to win, so I could say thank you to everybody, because, man, this pandemic has got our world so screwed up and crazy. Just like normally we have over 100 people in the studio, and now we got like 12. And so the reason I really wanted to win is to acknowledge those hundreds of people who are normally there, who I haven't seen, not sure when I'm going to see them again, but I wanted to get a chance to just say thank you. And, man, you guys are amazing. I love working with you guys.
It has been good, Chuck. You know what? Hasn't it been good to get back in there, at the world's longest desk with the plexiglass and everything else? I mean, Zoom is one thing, and
yeah.
We were struggling to do anything at all. It was, oh, good, we're having a Zoom. Look, we can see each other. But I'm telling you, doing those shows in person where we're all there, I mean, that's what makes it so special.
Yeah, because, Ernie, when you've been there, I mean, you obviously been there the longest. Like when you work with somebody 10, 15, 20 years, like you get to know them. You met their girlfriends, you met their wives, you met their kids. And the one thing that sucks, I didn't get to throw my party this year.
That's right.
I always have a party to kick off the playoffs, and all the guys bring their wives and girlfriends. And it's always the night before the playoffs start. But we didn't get to do it this year. I love doing it every year because, like I say, you very seldom get to see their wives and girlfriends, and they work their butts off. Still trying to figure out when we go on to 8 o'clock at night why they have to be there at noon. I think that's the stupidest thing in the world.
Oh, they got a lot of work to do, Chuckster. There's lots of stuff to set up. There's lots of stuff to make sure that it's all plugged in and connected.
Yeah. Nice try, Ernie. I've been there when. That's like when I'm shooting. Listen, that's like when I'm shooting a commercial. There's about 50 useless people on a commercial shoot. I was like, come on, man. There's no reason to have all these people working here unless they're family members and friends who you want to give a job to. But like I say, man, I want to be serious to start the podcast today and just tell everybody thank you for me and Ernie and the show winning. Thank you for your hard work.
We welcome you back to the steam room. And Chuckster, you were live.
Special guest.
And with all our special guests, we recommend that you keep your towel on as you come into the steam room. And that advice given to JJ Redick. JJ, how are you?
I'm doing good. Chuck and Ernie, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
After, I don't know exactly how many days you were in the bubble. You probably have it down to hours and minutes. But when you got home and there was Chelsea and there was Knox and there was Kai, tell me what that moment was like.
I got off the plane. They came and picked me up. The boys ran across the parking lot. My 4-year-old Kai, he has this infectious giggle. And the whole run, he's giggling. He grabbed me around my leg. Knox is the older one. He's a little bigger, and gave me a big bear hug. I eventually got to Chelsea and gave her a hug and a kiss. But being away from them for that long was easily the hardest part of being in the bubble. There was some normalcy in the bubble in terms of being around your teammates and the camaraderie and the competition. And those are things as an athlete that we all crave. But your escape, your grounding influence, at least in my life, is my family. And I didn't have them there to ground me and to kind of keep me from the highs and lows that we all face when we're in the middle of competition.
What was the best thing about the bubble, and what was the worst thing other than missing your family?
Okay, so I take this with a grain of salt because I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. The setup in the bubble was amazing. What the league did, what the union did to make this thing work is nothing short of amazing. But I'm going to be real. The food was as bad as advertised. I got by. So I would wake up for practice or shoot around, and I would have a banana and 2 cups of coffee, and that was my breakfast. And then, lunch and dinner, I would try to eat at the restaurant at the hotel, which the food was great. The staff there was so welcoming and so warm. We had a great experience there. But the food that was provided to the team, less than stellar. The best thing, as I mentioned, I think it was the socialization aspect. Chuck, you just mentioned that you're sort of in this bubble. Before we got on the air, you were saying that your production crew at the studio is normally 200 people. Now it's like 10 people. Talking to a friend this morning about that, who works in finance. He hasn't been able to go to the office in 5 months. And I think for a lot of people during this time, it's the socialization that we miss. It's the camaraderie that you have on being a part of a team. And that to me was the best part about it. It was the part that felt super normal. Getting on a bus ride in the morning, talking shit to your teammates, playing a game, having a glass of wine and a meal with them afterwards. Those are the things that I missed, while we were all getting locked down. And now that I'm back with my family and things aren't still back to normal out here in New York, but, at least I have them to kind of, hang with and do things with.
How strange was it, JJ, to be on that campus? Maybe you play against somebody, and we saw it the other day. I think it was posted by Jamal Murray. He went on his account, and they had just beaten Utah, and he just pans over, and there's Donovan Mitchell after he scores 57, just kind of hanging his head. I mean, how strange was that vibe to see the guys you just played against, maybe at a restaurant or just walking around the campus? Maybe, man, that guy got me with a bow in the second quarter, and there he is standing right there.
Well, what was strange, particularly with us, was we were staying at a hotel with 5 other teams, 4 of which were competing to get into that 8-9 game. So at the other hotels, you might have, some Eastern Conference teams and some Western Conference teams. We would see the same guys over and over. We're all competing to get into that last spot. So it was very weird. Like I'd be walking by to go get tested, and I'd see Damian Lillard coming out of testing, and I would be like, "Good luck tonight." And then I'd be like, "Why the f- did I say that? Why did I say that? I actually want him to lose." But so it was weird, and like we I don't know if y'all saw early in the bubble. I had to shotgun a beer in one of those personal ice tubs.
Oh, that's the one. That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, saw that.
Yeah, so it went viral, and all of a sudden, all the teams are like, "Where'd you guys get those ice tubs?" So eventually, all 6 teams ordered like 8 of these ice tubs. So you'd come out in the afternoon after practices or games, and there'd be 3 or 4 teams out there all tubbing together, and there was an underlying tension for sure because we were all competing for the same thing.
Give me a little bit of insight what it's like to play for Coach K.
It's a great question. So I think there's 2 versions of Coach K. There's the pre-2006 version. I graduated in 2006. And then there's the post-2006 version. Coaching, being the head coach on the Redeem team, they play the World Championships in 06. They play the qualifying games in 07. Then they go play and win the Olympics in 08. That experience, I think, changed a little bit how he coached. He wasn't at a 100 all the time. When I was there, he was at a 100 all the time, where every day was really mentally challenging. So you grew a lot as a player and as a person. Coach yelled a lot. He motivated a lot. I'll share one story about motivation. It's one of my favorite Coach K stories. So my junior year, we're getting ready to play Georgia Tech, and we were a little bit undermanned that year. I think we only had 7 or 8 scholarship players, and we were coming off an emotional game earlier in the week. So the night before the game, we meet in the locker room, and he plays the first battle scene from Braveheart. Okay, and if you've seen the movie Braveheart, all right, it's pretty gory and violent. I mean, they're literally chopping people's heads off in this scene. And we're all kind of like looking around the locker room, and we're like, all right, so we're going to war tomorrow. Okay, we get it. Like, it's going to be intense. And he gives a little speech. We come in the next day. It's an afternoon game. We come in the next day, and he does his pregame speech. He puts the scene on again, and he leaves the room. And we're kind of like, what's going on? So now we got to rewatch the scene. As the scene ends, as William Wallace sticks the sword into the ground, Coach K runs back in the locker room with his Army saber, his sword from when he went to West Point. And I hadn't noticed the pot of dirt yet, but there was a pot of dirt underneath the TV, and he gives out this primal scream, and he sticks the sword in the dirt. And we're all like, okay, this guy is on another level. Like, he's super intense. We won the game, but just tactics like that. Before I got there, I heard stories like that. I think he's always looking for an edge mentally. I always say his greatest strength as a coach to me is his adaptability. Each era of college basketball, he's adapted.
So, best college player you played with, best pro player you played with?
Best college player I played with? I would probably say it was Luol Deng. He was a freshman my sophomore year. We made the Final Four that year. I mean, you could see at that age, he was just super talented, even at 18 as a freshman, and had a great NBA career, made a couple All-Star games. Best NBA player I've played with. That's tough because I played with Prime Dwight. I played with Prime CP, Prime Blake. I played with Joel. I've got some young guys now that, are fantastic down in New Orleans. But I would say CP. CP is the best player I've played with. His control of the game is next level. So, Ernie, I don't want to hijack the podcast, but I just am naturally very curious about things. Chuck, when you went through that transformation, you lost 50 pounds. How much time did that take? What was your regimen? Was it just diet? Was it changing your workout routine? How did you accomplish that in a short amount of period of time? Because I think a lot of young players, and I've played with some guys that they don't quite understand how important just taking care of your body.
Yeah,
it becomes a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle.
Well, the thing that's amazing is, so I remember going up to Moses one day after practice. I said, Moses, why am I not getting to play? No, actually, that's not true. I went to his condo because we lived in the same building. He was in the penthouse, just saying. So I suppose, can I come up and talk to you tonight? He says, sure, young fella, come up and talk to me. And so I go up and I suppose, why am I not getting to play? And he says, Charles, you're fat and you're lazy. And I'm like, what? He says, you're fat and you're lazy. He says, son, you weigh 293 pounds. You cannot play in the NBA at 290. You can get away with that in college, which you did. And he says, Charles, you got a lot of talent, but you got to lose weight. And this guy, who was already a Hall of Famer, already won the world championship, met with me every morning. And he didn't say I needed to lose 50 pounds. He says, let's lose 10 pounds. So I get to 290. He said, let's get to 280. I get to 280. He said, let's get to 270. Dang, I get to 270. Let's get to 260. And I'm thinking like, man, I don't know if I'm going to have any strength or any energy, but I felt great. Now this time I'm starting to get to play. And then at this point, I'm starting to start when I get down to 260. And he says, I got to 250. And I actually got to 240, but I had no strength and no energy. He says, okay, gain 10 more pounds back and you're going to play at 250. And I'm not going to lie, JJ, when I first started working out, I didn't think it was any way possible for me to lose those 50 pounds. And, that's funny because I'm glad you asked me that question because we've talked about it on the show and I hear everybody talking about it. Zion is probably in the exact same situation I was in. I don't know a lot about his body fat and what kind of shape he's in, whatever, but the best ability is availability. And clearly he's going to have to make some changes in his body and because right now he can't stay healthy. And, but I wonder, and I said this on the show, I said, he need a Moses Malone, a guy who's going to be with him and say, yo man, let's figure out what your optimum playing weight is. Do you think you guys are looking for a new coach now? Do you guys have any veterans on your team, yourself included, who can go up to Zion without him getting offended? And, can any of you guys walk up, and I want to make this clear. Zion, listen to me. As my girl Judge Judy say, listen to me. Don't hear me. Listen to me. I'm not saying the same situation, but do you guys have anybody on your team who can go up to Zion and say, hey, Zion, you need to lose some weight?
Myself, I think Drew. The thing with Zion is he's such a good kid. I've had conversations with him, early in the season, just about taking care of his body. But clearly, what you went through with Moses is something that, he's got to figure out. And to your point, it really is finding that optimum weight. And it can't be what the Twitter crowd says is the optimum weight. I think the results speak for themselves. And part of those results, as you mentioned, and I talk about this all the time, availability is a skill in the NBA. And not just availability like, oh, I'm available and I'm healthy. It's like, no, there's a difference between being hurt and being injured. An injury, you might have to sit out a few games. If you're hurt, you should be able to play through it. But to be able to play through it hurt, you have to be at the right weight.
Yeah. You
have to be doing all the little things day to day to take care of yourself. You have to do all the prep work and the corrections and the activations. And so, again, with Zion specifically, like him and I are going to have that conversation. I know Griff has had those conversations with him. He's such a good kid. He's going to figure it out. And I know he wants to be great. And so he'll figure that out.